honestly, I'm just passionate about life, number one. I mean, every day I wake up and I thank God just for being alive because, the most grateful thing we should all be for is being able to wake up every morning. So one, I'm passionate about life. Two, I'm passionate about working with my brother. As much as being an entrepreneur sucks, like, don't get me wrong, it sucks. It's a hard thing to be an entrepreneur. A lot of people will come up to you and be like, "Oh, being an entrepreneur is so cool. I want to be one." It's like, no, you don't. You don't know when you're getting money. You don't know what's happening next. You're just constantly grinding in the hopes. You got to believe in yourself. So obviously the hopes are that something's going to happen, but you're just constantly grinding. But at the same time, the freedom that you have and the ability that you have to work with the people you want to work with and have nobody tell you what you need to do every day. I mean, I wouldn't pick any other career.
That is Adam Jones this week on the Do It For Yourself podcast. How's it going? Welcome back to another episode of the Do It For Yourself podcast. My name is Ian, and this is my podcast. And if this is your first time here, I would like to say thank you for coming and checking out the podcast. I really look forward to spending the next hour or so with you, sharing an amazing story with someone who is doing it for themselves. What does that mean? Well, when I started my weight loss journey, the reason that it worked when I started for the last time was because I was finally doing it because I wanted to. I wasn't going for a run. I wasn't hitting the gym. I wasn't doing any of these things because someone was telling me that I had to. They were telling me it was what I should be doing. I was doing it because it was something that I wanted to do. And I was up late one night looking for, a motivational quote or something. And I came along this quote, "Do it for yourself." And so I immediately adopted that because that's what I was doing. And it has now morphed into the Instagram page along with this podcast. And I am attempting to meet up with people who are also doing it for themselves, and they have an amazing story, which leads me to my guest today. My guest is Adam Jones, and Adam is one of the owners of Drink Peloton. And you may remember Adam from the early episodes here of the Do It For Yourself podcast. And we talked about, him launching the company with his brother Dave and the cold brew coffee that they were doing and how everything started, and they were hand brewing and hand bottling and hand labeling. And when we were on that podcast, we actually got a chance to talk about the Cascara tea, which was a new product that they were just launching. And since I've been following Adam on Instagram, on the Drink Peloton page, I noticed that he's been talking a lot more about the Cascara tea, and he's been talking about a lot of these big meetings that he's gone to and about where Peloton can now be found in stores and, some of these distributors and retailers that he's been talking to. So I knew that I needed to sit down with him again and get an update on where Peloton is and kind of what they're up to. So that is exactly what we do on today's episode. And, we get a chance to kind of hear what it's like to go into a meeting and pitch someone to try and get them to, carry your product on their shelves, and the process that they've had to really go through in order to close out some of these amazing deals. So I really had a great conversation with Adam, and it was a whole lot of fun catching up with him again. He is such a dynamic guy, and he's just, it's you can feel his energy, especially when you're sitting across the table from him. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this interview with Adam.
Shit.
Yeah.
Don't
well,
film that.
well, and we can't let her know that I was here either.
She already knows, bro. She already knows.
Oh yeah, that's true because you just posted it on.
She
on
knows
Instagram.
everything through my Instagram.
So yeah, that's all you need right there. But Adam, man, thanks so much for coming on and doing this again. I really appreciate it, and I've been looking forward to this, and I've been looking forward to catching up with you about what's going on with Peloton.
Absolutely.
Because I follow via Instagram, obviously, as a lot of people do. And there's definitely been some things that I've seen, and I'm like, man, I gotta get connected with him. I gotta ask him about that. Like, I want to, So I had a bunch of questions, and I was like, well, instead of just texting back and forth, via Instagram, Messenger, or whatever, like let's jump on and do another podcast.
I love it. Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm
So,
excited to be back on. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And for the people who are new listeners, because obviously we've had a little bit of growth since the last time I saw you. Just give us a like a quick overview of who you are, what Peloton is. Everything like
Cool.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Adam Jones. I'm the owner of Drink Peloton with my brother Dave. We started it about 4.5, 5 years ago now in our parents' kitchen, and it was nothing back then. It was just a little local company. We were brewing cold brew coffee, hand bottling it, putting paper labels on old Blue Moon bottles that we would scrape the labels off of. I mean, it was a wild ride. And then we grew it, and then, got ahead of us, and the market got ahead of us, and we had to come up with something new and innovative and something different. And we came out with a Cascara tea. Cascara, what that is it's the coffee fruit. So a lot of people don't realize that coffee grows on a shrub, and it looks like a cranberry. Inside that cranberry is your coffee bean. That outer portion wasn't used for anything. They would just waste it. They were throwing it away. So my brother and I, we found out about this stuff, and we were able to source a little bit of it to taste it. And it's got this really delicious fruit-forward flavor. Tastes really good. On top of that, it's loaded with health benefits. Cascara is the 4th highest in antioxidants in the world, according to the ORAC chart. I mean, to put that into perspective, it's almost like 51 times higher in antioxidants than blueberries per 100 grams, which is just unreal.
Yeah.
And when we found out all these health benefits, and the taste was amazing, and that it's a byproduct, and that by us using it, we can help sustainability to the farms and all these different things, it's like, dude, this is a no-brainer. So we flew to Honduras with some importers and exporters, and we kind of learned the ropes over there, and we got a direct supply chain of Cascara, and we created Peloton Cascara tea with it. And that's where we're at today.
And you guys are working with a co-packer in New Jersey, right?
Yeah, so we work with a co-packer in Jersey right now that does all the co-packing, whereas with the cold brew, we were bottling everything by hand, labeling by hand. I mean, it was a process. And so, yeah, we work with a co-packer in Jersey right now.
Okay, cool. So you're co-packing it in Jersey. And then you guys, does it get shipped directly out from Jersey, or does it come to you here?
Yeah, it gets co-packed in Jersey, then it gets shipped to Lancaster, where it gets stored in a warehouse in Lancaster.
Okay.
And then from Lancaster is where we ship to our distributors and stores and everything.
Yeah, right on. And so the cold brew, the coffee, you guys were all doing, you were doing it by hand. I remember when I came up the last time, you had like the big drums that you were brewing it in, and then you'd bottle it by hand. And I mean, you guys were in Whole Foods, you were in some other places. So what's happening with the cold brew coffee now?
Yeah, so the cold brew, when we launched the tea, we kind of took the focus off the cold brew because we realized that the tea had much more opportunity to it, and it wasn't a saturated market yet. So we actually took the tea and we moved forward with that. And unfortunately, that took a lot of focus off the cold brew, and the cold brew's kind of dwindling out. We just brewed our last batch last week, and we're going to be cutting the cold brew out.
So,
but don't worry, there's plenty of cold brews out there on the shelves to go around.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's like a never-ending supply of cold brews.
I mean, part of the reason too is like every store we would walk into brewed their own cold brew.
Right.
And it was just such an easy thing for people to do. It didn't make sense to put tons and tons of dollars into the cold brew industry when the chances of getting a return on that is very slim. I think a lot of the cold brew industry now, people are coming out with cold brews, which is great because they enjoy the craft of it, which I love. I mean, that's what got me into it, is the craft of it. but there's no return on your investment right now with the cold brew market. It's very tough unless you have lots and lots and lots of money to put into it.
Well, and I mean, the other thing of it is that, and the unfortunate thing is there's so many people do it, but not everybody does it right.
No, that
Like,
is true. Not
it's
everybody does it right.
There's so many brands out there that are they're just trash. I mean,
but you know what? You'll find that in anything.
Yeah. For sure.
Like we're learning even in the Cascara industry right now. A lot of people are coming out with Cascara and they're marketing it as different things. And Cascara, sure, it's got a little bit of caffeine in it. It's about 30 milligrams of caffeine, 38 milligrams of caffeine for a 12-ounce bottle. And some people might have a little bit more, a little bit less, but some people are marketing it as an energy drink. Some people are marketing it as, all different types of things, when really what it is it's a tea with a lot of health benefits. So we find that in everything and we found it in the beginning with cold brew when we were doing cold brew. Some people were marketing 400 milligrams of caffeine. Some people were marketing 150 milligrams of caffeine, and it confuses the market. And then on top of that, like you said, some just don't taste good.
Yeah.
So you go out and you buy a cold brew for the first time, and you buy like Wegmans, per se, because theirs was horrible. It turns you off. You're like, I don't know if I want to drink this stuff anymore. So, but you'll find that in every industry. You find it in kombucha, you find it in juices, you find it in, plant-based milks. You'll find it everywhere that there's a company that's got a lot of money, tastes like crap, but they're really good at marketing and they're out in the market.
Yeah. Now, what's the major difference and why do you think that there was like such a big spot for you to play with in the tea versus the cold brew?
So the tea industry is gigantic, number one. Number two, an alternative tea, you have a lot more room in the tea industry to play with. If we tried coming out and doing like a Snapple, a play on Snapple, that's totally different.
Right.
But we came out and we decided to do an alternative tea with an alternative ingredient. And on top of that, the Cascara ingredient is involved with the coffee crop. It is the coffee crop. So it's involved with the coffee industry. And the coffee industry is gigantic too. So you're kind of meshing two industries together, the tea industry and the coffee industry, and producing this product that's an alternative tea loaded with health benefits and low in calories.
Yeah.
So we really felt like we were just hitting everything and sustainability. So everything that's kind of near and dear to us, which is health of the environment, health of our own bodies, we mixed that together and we created something that we really felt good about drinking. And we feel like the masses will as well.
Now, what about the shelf life? Is that you think that's definitely played a factor?
Oh, 100%. So with the cold brew, we had a 4-month shelf life, and it had to be refrigerated. Mm-hmm. With the tea, we have an 18-month shelf life, shelf stable. Distribution is way easier. Getting product made is way easier. There's a lot of things that are easier in the aspects of having a shelf stable product.
Yeah, I mean, because I remember, even when I would go and pick up the cold brew from Whole Foods or wherever I would grab it from, the date on the top of it was, not that far away. Like, and so I was wondering how, because then what do you do with stock, and what if it's not sold, and then
so the big thing with that, what we were doing is we would have to brew a lot of times to order. We really weren't able to keep a lot of back stock,
right? Which
made it very tough to handle the day-to-day operations, of being out there merchandising, making sure sales are happening, because we'd have to be at the warehouse, because we were a small company. We didn't have the money to hire a full-time warehouse staff.
Right.
And to go to a co-packer, you had to have gigantic volumes. I mean, that for us, we would have been out of business if we did those runs with the cold brew. Now with the tea, you still have to have very big volumes done, but we can have back stock of that tea, and
exactly.
We're not worried,
Yeah, you can have like you said, it's sitting in Lancaster. You have a warehouse full of it, and it's good for 18 months.
Yeah, like we just had a run done that we did 80 pallets worth of tea, so about 20 pallets per SKU. We have 4 SKUs of the Cascara tea. I mean, 80 pallets of the coffee, we would have wasted so much money because with 4 months, as a small company, it was tough for us to get rid of that 80 pallets. Now,
I'm sure.
With the tea, we've been very, very fortunate, and this is our 3rd run that we just did. We've only had the tea out for 4 months, so it's been doing really well.
Yeah, because when I came and did the first podcast with you, that was like when you were first launching the tea. I don't know if you even had a run of it per se.
We didn't.
You had some skids of some SKUs.
We had some samples.
Yeah, that were over in here in Westchester. Yep. But I'm sure you weren't packing a warehouse in Lancaster at that point in time. So
no, that was. I mean, our first run that we did was just a pilot run, which was a very small run. But after the pilot run, I mean, you waste a lot of money doing a pilot run. So then we had to go into the bigger runs. But like I said, we've been fortunate enough to get rid of it.
Yeah, and so you've also, I mean, you've been in the industry for a little while, so you have some relationships with retailers and, all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
But are there any relationships that, helped you with the launch of the Cascara tea that you said, hey, like, just so you know, like, this is our new product. This is kind of what we're moving towards.
Yeah, no, 100%. We got really lucky and got into the KHE and the UNFI fast track programs, which really helped launch the Cascara tea. We had a great relationship with our SRM from UNFI. And that, I mean, that helped. He loved our cold brew coffee. When we went in there and spoke to him, it was really quick, no-brainer for him. He said, yeah, I want to bring you guys in for the fast track program, which that relationship right there, I mean, if we didn't have that, UNFI is the largest natural food distributor in the United States. So if we didn't have that, I think it would have been a lot tougher. That was really amazing. And then on top of it, we were working with a really great broker team that was going out making sales for us and everything. And, when we started the cold brew, we were doing all that. We didn't have those connections, so hiring that broker team was gigantic for us because they have the connections with all the buyers. So they were able to go out, show the product. They have a rapport with them, and the people were like, oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll give it a try, and then it's a good product, it tastes good, and it sells well, so they keep you in.
Now, was that like a learning process for you to reach out to these people and get
absolutely.
in contact
we
with
had
them?
No
like
idea.
You didn't, because you didn't know about that when you launched the coffee.
Oh, 100%.
So like, how did you even hear about it then when you were talking about launching a new product for the Cascara tea?
So honestly, you know what? My brother and my brother's really good at just researching stuff and finding stuff. And he found a company to go work with. And they introduced us. We ended up working with that company, Cascadia Managing Brands, and they were like a brand management company. And they introduced us to Impact Group, and Impact Group was super rad and brought us in.
So you guys, I mean, and it seems like, from what I can gather, it seems like you are the marketer, and you're out there, like, you are blasting Peloton out there everywhere as much as you possibly can. I mean, I've been following you on Instagram, and like, you are going from store to store now, which we'll get into, but you're going from store to store and making sure that the displays are set up and everything. So it seems like you're the marketer and you're the face, quote unquote, out there of Peloton. And it seems like Dave is more of research, making sure that everything is, dialed in, everything is, all T's are crossed, all I's are dotted, is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Dave, 100% make sure all T's are crossed and all I's are dotted. I mean, he is on point. And if I didn't have my brother, I wouldn't have this business. So, I mean, I'm so fortunate to have him as a business partner because he gets shit done when it needs to be done, and he makes sure that things are set for the future. Whereas, my brain thinks a little differently. I'm in the moment. I try to go hard in the moment, and, I don't really think too far ahead, which in a beverage industry, you need to think very far ahead. Right. So we have a perfect mesh of teamwork. And I mean, in business, I think having a partner, it makes, like we just talked about the other day, Dave and I, it's like neither of us could do this business if we didn't have each other. Not only for like business aspects of getting things done or whatever, but just for the emotional aspect as well, for when things aren't going right, to have one person be like, hey, come on, man, we got this. Let's keep grinding. Because if you're alone, your head can play a lot of tricks on you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? That's actually interesting that, you are all about the partnership, because there are some people who are the direct opposite. and who are like want to stay away from partnerships and they don't want anything to do with it. So it's interesting, and it's really interesting to hear your point of view on that as to why that's so important to you. And I mean, I'm sure you've heard the horror stories of, partnerships breaking up and just being destroyed, and then it ends up destroying, friendships and families and all kinds of stuff. So I'm sure there's definitely days where like you want to strangle him and he wants to strangle you. I mean, but
there's days where he has strangled me. Nah, man, yes, I get what you're saying. It is, there's two sides to the story, and there are definitely days that are tough, and there's days where we don't like being around each other. But at the end of the day, those days do not outweigh the good days, and the good days are the days that keep us going and keep us motivated. And we wouldn't be able to do it without each other. But I do get people that want to work alone and, like to do their own thing. I would say it's probably a lot harder, though, without somebody there to help you.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Yeah, I'm sure it is. So actually, speaking of your partnerships and everything else, I do have to ask you, and I don't think I even told you about this, so I'm kind of going to put you on the spot, but your boy Dr. Phil.
Yeah.
Right? So I posted something on my story about how I was crushing some Cascara tea, to get the antioxidants and all the health benefits because I was kind of feeling a little under the weather. And I think you must have reposted it on the Peloton story. So then I get this random message, and it's like, hey, I would drink probably like 2 or 3 of those a day, up your vitamin C to like 3,000 to 4,000 milligrams, and throw a zinc in there. And then like that was it. It's like, and it was signed like Dr. Phil. And I was like, who the heck is this guy that's just like giving me like unsolicited medical advice? So I go on and I look and I see he's got a bunch of posts about Peloton. I'm like, oh, okay, he must have like seen it on there. So yeah, just know Dr. Phil, I guess he's one of your partners in this.
The real deal Dr. Phil, yeah. So he's one of our investors. Super awesome guy. And part of the reason that he came in to invest was due to the health benefits of the Cascara. And, to have a doctor backing us and to support the company is really awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a great dude.
I mean, it's kind of twofold for you. Like, you're bringing him on as an investor, which is great for you. That's, you can get more skids, more SKUs, you can get into all that. But then on the flip side of it, he's giving people medical advice. Like he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's cool to have a doctor tell you that, hey, drink this stuff. Get your antioxidants.
Yeah,
up.
Absolutely.
A lot of people, I wouldn't say a lot of people don't know, but some people don't know antioxidants are really, really, really good for you.
Right.
I post about it all the time on my Instagram, and that free radicals are very bad for you. Free radicals, they attack cells in your body and they cause things like cancer and they cause you to get sick, and antioxidants fight those free radicals. And that's why if you ever hear me say on my Instagram, let's fight free radicals, that's what I'm talking about. Our tea is loaded with antioxidants. Like I said, Cascara itself is the 4th highest in antioxidants in the world. So by drinking our tea, drinking 1 a day, 2 a day, whatever, you're loading your body with antioxidants that are helping fight free radicals and keep you healthier.
Yeah. So now I do want to get into, I touched on it a little bit earlier, but I want to, this is what I really wanted to focus on with you. As I've been following you on Instagram, there's been a lot of meetings that I've been, quote unquote, a part of because I was there through Instagram, living vicariously through you guys. But there's been some really big meetings that you guys have gone to, and you've gone to, some different beverage industry shows, and you guys were voted in the top at, what was it? It was BevNet.
Live,
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was BevNet or BevFest. I couldn't remember. So now you're finding yourself on shelves throughout some stores in the area and everything. So the one I want to hit on, because I haven't heard anything about it in a little while, the first one that I want to touch on is Walmart. I saw that you had a huge meeting with Walmart, and you actually went out to Walmart headquarters, did the whole deal.
We did.
So what's up with Walmart?
So we were out in Bentonville, Arkansas for the Walmart meeting, and it went just as planned. We got in. We landed a deal with Walmart, and we actually get launched on their shelves coming this spring.
Okay.
So yeah, so when you get into a place, it's a long ride. You're not
Okay.
you don't get put on the shelves right away. They got to do their planograms. They have a certain time that they do their resets. But we will be in Walmart coming this spring. It was pretty rad. We went down there. It was an open call, so any company could come down if they got invited, and you could or you had to like enter and get selected to come down to the open call. You present to the buyer. And we were fortunate enough to present to our buyer, and he loved Peloton and brought us in.
Now, I want to take a step back there for a second. So you said it's an open call, but you have to get invited. So how does that work?
So it's an open call, but you have to submit to go. So it's not so much that they reach out to you. You submit. And it's just like anything. They select a certain amount of people to come. Otherwise, everybody and their mother would just show up with the product.
Right.
So I think everybody's able to submit, and then they narrow it down to who can actually come out to Arkansas and present.
Now, I'm assuming that was that found by you, or was that found by Dave?
That was found by Dave.
Okay. So, so you just flew out there with what, like a case of Cascara in your checked bag?
We shipped Cascara out to the hotel.
Okay.
And had it stay at the hotel until we got out there. We flew out there, and we had our man Derry. Big shout out to Derry. He picked us up. He was our Uber driver.
Okay.
I loved him because his name was Derry. He picked us up, drove us to our hotel, and we called Derry later. He drove us into town. We called Derry the next day. He drove us back to the airport. I actually got a picture of Derry on my phone. But yeah, dude, it was awesome. I mean, it was cool. We went down there and we had high hopes. We thought we were going to get in. We were definitely on a successful run right then, and we're firm believers in our product, and we think the best. But you never know,
right?
And it wasn't a cheap trip, but we were fortunate enough to get selected.
Yeah, so. I mean, it's gonna pay off in the end.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's gonna pay off.
So we're not gonna be in all 4,500 Walmart stores across the nation, or however many there are. They're gonna put us in like the Mid-Atlantic region, which could be anywhere between 100 stores to 500 stores.
So that would be like stretching the East Coast.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and that would be like. I'm trying to think of there's so many Walmarts around. Even just like if you just think of like the area that we're in right now, you could probably clip off like 10 or 15 of them.
It really it's crazy to think how many so we also launched with Giant, which I'm sure
I was going to ask you about that one too.
So we launched with Giant and we got into 127 of the Giant stores, the Carlisle Giant stores, which are mostly Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Maryland. Yeah, that's it. West Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. And we drove around to all the Giants that were in drivable distance, which was about 120 of them. And believe it or not, they're all in Pennsylvania, and we were able to do it in 3 days. That's how clustered the Giants are. Like, you don't think like that, like like you're saying with Walmart, they're everywhere. We just don't notice them unless we're gone to them.
Right. So, Walmart rolls out in the spring, and are they going to give you like a purchase order, and they're going to go through that whole deal, and they'll tell you exactly how many cases and skids
so
and
we're
SKUs
still going through all the paperwork and stuff with them, but that's exactly how it'll work. They'll give us a purchase order for those 500 stores or 100 stores or however many, and then we'll ship the product out. And so like Giant, they gave us a purchase order. I think it was like 9 pallets worth of product.
Okay.
We ship that out, and then that goes to the stores.
And so with Giant, how did that work? Now, Giant's a little bit more local.
Giant reached out to us.
Really?
Which was really cool. Yeah, so we sent them samples a long time ago.
Okay.
And we heard nothing, like literally when we first started. And then
and you probably don't even know whether they tasted it or not. You know what I mean?
We have no idea. We follow up, and you don't hear anything.
Right.
You just continue to follow up. Then I would say about 2 months ago, we got a call from Giant, and they said, "Hey, could you send more samples? We're considering picking you for the new reset." And they picked a bunch of different brands for their resets. So we sent in more samples, and then we got another email saying, you were selected for the reset. We had to send them more products so they could do their store mock-ups and all that. And then we got the purchase order. So we got put on the shelves October 1st with Giant.
Now, when you got that email from them saying, "Hey, we're considering you," had you given up on Giant at that point?
No,
Like,
not at all. I mean,
was
honestly,
it still like in the back of your head, like,
Dave
"Hey"?
and I will never give up on any store.
Right.
Even if a store tells us no, we're gonna keep sending them samples because eventually they're gonna say yes. So no, we never gave up on them.
So you guys were still constantly following up with them and still like sending an email.
And part of with Giant is we knew that their review didn't come up yet.
Okay.
So it really, in the beverage industry, it's all based around review periods. So every different store has a review period at a certain time in the year. And you can send samples outside of that review period just to get your product known by them. But they won't make any decisions until the review period.
And how did you guys I'm assuming all this research is Dave, you know, but like this is all stuff that I mean, obviously I'm not in the beverage industry, but like, I don't know. Sometimes it just seems like there's new drinks that just like show up on the shelves at stores and you're like, wait, where did that come from? You know what I mean? And it doesn't seem like there's any rhyme or reason to it. Like it seems like you're there on a Tuesday and they don't have it, and then you go back on Saturday and it's there. So
it happens.
But I guess
it happens.
It's for the most part you're saying like there's cycles that they go through.
Exactly. And I'm sure. I mean, I don't. It hasn't happened to us, but I'm sure if a store really, really wants something, they can bring it in whenever they want.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
But for the most part, for newer brands, it's through the review periods.
Now, did you for Walmart? You went out there, you were in front of people, you got to tell your story of Cascara, you got to talk with them while they were.
We didn't get to do that with Giant.
Yeah. Okay. So that was my question. You just send the samples.
We just sent the samples, sent the pitch deck, and waited to hear.
Wow. Okay. Because I'm sure I would have to say, especially with your energy and your passion about this company and this product, that it's a benefit for you to be able to get in front of somebody.
100%. Even with Impact Group, and whenever they have sales meetings with any bigger people, Dave and I always push them to make sure that we're there because we sell this product better than anybody. It's our product. I mean, nobody's going to be as passionate about their product as the owners. So we always push to be on the meetings.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see, like, even if you follow on Instagram, like, you can tell how passionate you are. I think it's not just about Peloton or the tea or the coffee, I think it's kind of just about the whole thing.
Man, honestly, I'm just passionate about life. Number one, I mean, every day I wake up and I thank God just for being alive because. The most grateful thing we should all be for is being able to wake up every morning. So one, I'm passionate about life. Two, I'm passionate about working with my brother. As much as being an entrepreneur sucks, like, don't get me wrong, it sucks. It's a hard thing to be an entrepreneur. A lot of people will come up to you and be like, oh, being an entrepreneur is so cool. I want to be one. It's like, no, you don't. You don't know when you're getting money. You don't know what's happening next. You're just constantly grinding in the hopes. You got to believe in yourself. So obviously the hopes are that something's going to happen, but you're just constantly grinding. But at the same time, the freedom that you have and the ability that you have to work with the people you want to work with and have nobody tell you what you need to do every day. I mean, I wouldn't pick any other career.
Well, not only that, but then you get the opportunity to do like cool things like this, and you get to have opportunities to go speak in front of like you're going to Westchester today to speak with some some students there. So
things like that are so cool. Like you work a 9 to 5 your whole life, you don't have really much of that, and who knows, you might be making $75,000 the rest of your life. Being an entrepreneur, you have the ability to make whatever you want to make as long as you want to work hard enough for it.
Well, you still got that check that the Coca-Cola company's going to write. It's hanging above your desk, right?
It on my desk, man.
Yeah.
So I wrote a check to myself. They didn't write us one.
So you're in Giant, and are you in all? You're in all of those stores in Pennsylvania, 127 of them.
So Carlisle is 180 stores. We're in 127 of them. And so some of the stores we're in all the Nature Promise section.
Yeah.
Some of those stores don't have Nature Promise sections, or they have very, very small shelf space in their Nature Promise sections. So we're in 127 of those.
Are you in either of the Giants that are in Kennett Square by chance?
Absolutely.
All right, good.
We're both of them.
Good. Now, are they going to roll that? And I guess they wouldn't tell you this, so you wouldn't know that. But, Giant's kind of, there's two companies. It's Giant, and then there's Martin's, which is like in Maryland, but that's also owned by Giant. And when you say we're in the Carlisle Giants, is that like the Carlisle family or the Carlisle district, or what is that?
So honestly, what does that mean? I'm not really sure. I just know that the Giant Carlisle section is the Pennsylvania, West Virginia. But then there's Stop and Shop as well, which is a part of Giant. And then you said Martin's, which is a part of Giant. Yeah. So if everything goes well in Giant Carlisle, then yeah, it's going to roll over into other. We had the opportunity actually to get into Stop and Shop, but one thing with getting into big places like this is they require free fills or shelf space cost. And for Giant, they required a free fill of 2 cases per SKU per store. So that means 48 bottles per SKU per store. That's a lot of product. I mean, we gave away probably 4 pallets worth of product for free just to get into the store. So
whoa,
as a smaller company, unless you got a lot of money, you got to play it smart, and you can't be, as much as we wish we could open up every door, you got to have the money to not only open the door, but to support that door and make sure that your product's selling off the shelf.
So a free fill, are you sending that to them and they're putting it on the shelf?
Yeah.
Okay. And then they're going to sell it.
They'll make money off of it, but we won't.
Okay. And that's just...
It's basically for them to guarantee that, their asses are covered in case our product doesn't sell.
Okay.
Because, I totally understand it, because for a big store like that to make a commitment, to put us into 127 stores, they want to make sure that's product selling. So a free fill, though, to us is way better than paying shelf space. Some places will charge you like $60,000 for shelf space, which I'd rather give them some free product that people are actually going to pick up,
right,
than pay $60,000 for shelf space, before the product's even on the shelf.
And is that like $60,000 for the year, $60,000 for the lifetime? Do you know how that works?
You know what? I don't. Dave would.
Okay.
But I think it's $60,000. It's just a one-time fee.
Okay.
I don't believe it's yearly.
Okay. And so, yeah, because that would be,
I'm almost positive it's a one-time fee.
That would be insane. Or I wasn't sure if it was like...
See, this is why I have a partner. Now, I could research that real quick, but I bet you Dave already knows it.
Now, it would be insane to pay, $60,000 a year, but I wasn't sure if it could be like, every couple years, or, I don't know. I mean, you were saying that the cycles are like probably every quarter or so. Well, that probably works out. But
it definitely isn't every year, because the free fill is just a one-time thing.
Okay.
So the shelf space would be too.
Yeah. Okay. So they're going to do, now, are they still in their free fill period, or did they come through with a purchase?
They're already starting to reorder.
Okay. So that's good.
That's great for us.
Yeah. Absolutely. And now, so that's going to give you some breathing room, right? Because Giant rolled out October 1st. They're probably through their free fill already. They're starting to order some product. What about Walmart? So is Walmart going to do a free fill?
No. They Walmart's a little better. They actually buy the product.
Okay.
So yeah.
And they're going to buy. Has anyone said like, hey, we only want like this SKU and this SKU?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the Giants only hold 2 SKUs.
Okay.
Some of them hold all 4.
Okay.
So it depends on how much shelf space is available.
And and I'm sure people can then go on the site and see that, you have some other flavors and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But are there any plans to be able to order it, off of the site as well? Like, say your local Giant, they only have like the original and maybe the pomegranate.
Yeah, so you can go on our website and you can make an online order. But it is glass bottles. Shipping's pretty expensive.
Oh, I'm sure.
So like we noticed that there's a lot of people that go on there, put it in their cart, and then they click off once they see shipping.
Yeah.
But you can order it on our website.
Okay. And moving forward, after Walmart, because there's no free fill with Walmart, they're going to, just go with an outright purchase. Is there anyone who you're, focusing on to like really try, like, okay, we want to get in this door?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now we're really focused on Fresh Market, Wegmans, Whole Foods. The Those stores are very similar to like your Nature's Promise section of Giant. So we're really trying to play that natural specialty market right now. So those are what we're focused on, but we're not trying, like I said, we're not trying to move too fast because we don't want to run out of money.
Now, Whole Foods, you guys were already in Whole Foods with the
so we
cold
were in
brew.
we were in Whole Foods with the cold brew. And
you
but
did
just
that
because
basically.
you're in there with the cold brew doesn't mean they're going to bring in another SKU. So now we're presenting the tea, and it's in a review period. So we'll see what happens.
Well, and do me a favor and kind of just talk about the story of how you. I know you did. We talked about it on the last podcast, but I mean, just recap the story of how you got the cold brew into Whole Foods because I'm surprised.
I wish Whole Foods still did it this way, but they don't. Ever since the Amazon deal. So the way we got the cold brew in is I just went into my local Whole Foods with a bottle of Peloton cold brew coffee with a Blue Moon bottle, a paper Peloton label taped around the bottle, and I had a conversation with the dairy buyer. Talked for an hour with him about skateboarding. We didn't even talk about Peloton. And when I shook his hand to leave, he said, "Oh, wait, let me try your product." And he brought us in. He loved it. He gave us the paperwork to bring us in. We got into the Whole Foods at Glen Mills. Then we found out that Whole Foods, the way it worked, is you could go to any Whole Foods you wanted in your region, and you could just sell in yourself. So Dave and I drove to every PA Whole Foods, D.C., Baltimore, everywhere that we could sell into ourselves, and we got into all the Whole Foods that way. The product did well over that first year, and then we got the regional contract with Whole Foods. Now the way it works is you need to go straight to regional, and you either need to get a regional contract, a national contract. You can't go store to store.
So you went regional or you went national?
We were regional with the cold brew.
No, I'm saying for
we're trying to go either. If they accept us national, we do it in a heartbeat.
You can, when you go to present, can you say, "Hey, I'm looking to go national," or "Hey, I'm looking to go regional"?
But
or
at the
you
end
can
of the
just
day,
say,
it doesn't matter. It's up to them.
Here's my product. I want to get this in Whole Foods. We're based out of Westchester, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of you can present to the national buyer.
Okay.
Or you can present to the regional buyer, which we presented to both. And, at the end of the day, it's their decision.
On where they're going to put you or not. How have you heard any?
Not yet.
And they have a beverage cycle as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and do you have any idea when their cycle is up, or did they just go through one? Or?
They are going through it right now.
Okay.
So it'll be up probably the end of this month. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you never know. Keep your fingers crossed, right? And you mentioned Wegmans as well. They just put one in, over off of 202. So,
yeah, Wegmans is growing.
They're local.
We're gonna keep presenting to Wegmans. We're not ready yet. I wouldn't say. I don't think we have the money to support if we get into a lot of Wegmans, but we're going to keep on presenting because, by the time they're ready to bring us in, we will be ready.
Right. And I think that's the other thing is that, and this is probably like a balancing act for you and a little bit of a game, but I'm sure you'll start to figure it out too as you go along, but you have to kind of time it just right. So, like, you got to figure out, like, okay, from that very first presentation and the very first, taste test of the product and everything, it usually takes about this long, and then, okay, then maybe we do, a free run, and then we do this, so you'll have an idea of about how long it takes. So when you're wrapping up with one, and then you get that first purchase order, you'll know the timeline of when you can kind of start.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right. We keep everything in a calendar. We know when we present, when we send out samples, when we should send out samples again. It is a timing game. It's very much a timing game, but, you just got to continue to follow up and be persistent.
What about smaller and, obviously it's not small, but like Wawa, like quick grab and go, stuff like that?
Yeah, so Wawa is very expensive to play with. We have a friend that has a beef jerky in Wawa, and I think they paid something like $40,000 per SKU shelf space. So Wawa is very expensive to play with.
Wow.
And, as much as I would love to be in there, we're not ready for Wawa yet.
And that would be great because it's local.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wawa, it started in Pennsylvania. Like, that would be really cool to be a part of that.
For sure. There's a lot of places that would be really, really cool to be into, but, if you run out of money, doesn't matter where you're at.
Right. Yeah, because you can't order more product.
No, you can't order more product and you don't have the money. Really, in this industry, having a great product is key, but marketing is the most important thing, is getting your product sold off the shelf. One thing Dave and I have found out is that, having a new innovative product that tastes great, it's very easy to get the buyers to bring you in. But you need to get the people in the store, the consumer in the store, to actually see your product on the shelf and take it off the shelf. That's most important.
And how are some of the ways that you've been doing that? Because I've seen it on Instagram, but for people who are listening to this, stories expire in 24 hours. So how are some of the ways that you've been doing that? Because
so we do a lot of Instagram advertising, targeted marketing towards the areas that carry our product, which is one way. Two, we go into store to store and we put up shelf talkers, shelf strips, things that'll draw the attention if they're in the shelf, shelf wobblers, and then demos. Having people, we're in a lot of independents in New York City, and we have a couple college kids that go out and do demos for us and sample the product.
And you were just in New York, right? Is that what I saw? I thought I saw that you were just in New York not long ago.
No, I was in Philly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just in Philly.
Okay.
But we may have been in New York. We're all over the place. Literally, I spend 90% of my time driving.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
insane.
I've seen
man.
that.
It's
I've
insane.
Seen
that.
And
I probably shouldn't be Instagramming all the time, but I'm really good at it.
Oh man. Oh man, I was just gonna ask you something. It just completely went out of my head. Oh, the shelf, the shelf stuff, right? Is there any policy on what you can put up, what you can't put up, how much you can put up, how does that all?
For the most part, no.
Okay.
But if you put up stuff they don't like or that's ugly, or they'll take it down.
Right.
There's no policy against them not being able to just remove your stuff.
Okay.
So, part of the thing is you put up stuff that makes the store more appealing, rather than stuff that takes away from the appeal of the store.
And you have the little square cards that I saw that you were putting up there, and those it kind of just explains the product and stuff. So yeah,
exactly,
go ahead.
Yeah. So the shelf wobblers, they just explain hey, this is an antioxidant rich superfruit tea. Try it. We have some new ones that we have made right now that they say antioxidants. They're good for you. Antioxidants, never tasted this good.
Okay.
So we're trying some marketing like that, but it's marketing's tough, and especially if you don't have a ton of money, you got to do it grassroots and try to really come up with things that will draw people in and catch the attention of people.
Now, are you? I'm sure there's really no way to tell which one of these shelf, attention grabbers is working and which one's not doing so great. I mean, you can kind of gauge it off of how much of the product is selling.
You can gauge it a little bit off of sales, but for the most part, it's really hard to tell your ROI on that stuff. You just have to continue doing it.
Right.
I mean, putting up shelf talkers once isn't going to do anything. Putting them up for 6 months in a row, a year in a row, then that's when you're going to start. It's with anything. Do you ever really buy a product the first time you see an ad for it? But if you see that ad 5 or 6 times, then it's in your brain and you're going to buy it.
And obviously, you're wearing the Gary V shoes. So you've been following him for a little while, and how much, he pushes Instagram and Facebook ads and how underpriced they are and everything. So do you feel like there's you could track that easier? And talk to me about the targeting, because I've used the targeting, but I've used the targeting differently than probably what you're doing, because I've used it, to target people who I think are going to enjoy the podcast and like-minded individuals who are going to, get some value out of the podcast itself. But for you can actually target people who specifically live within X mile radius of the store in Carlisle off of,
Yeah, so with the targeting for us is exactly what you just said. We're targeting people that live close to these stores, and we're targeting people that have interests that, these stores have. So interest in healthier products, an interest in Giant even, an interest in, things that are around this store. And then what we do is we target those people via Instagram and Facebook. And when they click on our ad, it leads them directly to our map on our website to show them exactly where they can get the product. Because that way, yes, we can say you can get it at Giant, but say they live closer to another store that carries it, or or they don't have a Giant near them and they still see that ad. We want them to be targeted to go to the map and find out. And then the way that helps us is we have analytics on the map, so we can see how many people actually search our map and how many people click on the ad, and cross-reference and see how this is really working.
And can you see how long people stay on the map, and are actively
Yeah, you can see how long people are on it. You can see if they actually type in an address to look. So there's all different ways to track that. But that gets super complicated. We outsource that.
Oh yeah. I'm sure. That's
it gets complicated.
Yeah, that's way over my head. I mean, like I said, I've used the the Facebook ads and stuff to target people, and there's the Facebook pixel that you can put on your website so that it's gathering data about who comes to your website, and then it can kind of it's super creepy.
Man. Like we don't do it because it's too expensive right now, but couponing. You ever go to the store and you buy something and it prints out a coupon for you?
Yeah.
Well, that coupon machine tracks your credit card and knows every purchase you make, and it prints out coupons based on every purchase you make.
I've noticed that.
Coupons. So say you go in and you buy salads and fresh fruits, and it's probably going to print you out a coupon for a smoothie or some type of produce or something, because it knows exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, I have noticed that, because it'll print out coupons for me that I didn't buy, because sometimes I'll actually already have the stuff in my cart, but then other times it is stuff that I buy frequently, but I didn't buy it this time. I'm like, why am I getting a coupon for this?
Yeah, dude, so it knows, that's man. What it is. Knows. It has eyes on you at all times.
Yeah, Big Brother always has eyes on you. Yeah.
It's creepy. My wife looks at stuff online, and the next thing you know, it's popping up on my phone. And I'm like, I didn't look at this.
Yeah, no, that happens to me all the time. I've had stuff that's popped up, and I'm like, you just Google something real quick, or whatever it is, and then next thing you know, Facebook, and I forget which one it was. Somebody was all over my Facebook, and I was like, man, you are spending boatloads of money on those Facebook ads with the number of times I've just seen it pop up. They
wanted you to buy it.
Did
you
know
ever
what's
buy
funny?
Anything?
No, and I can't. It's funny because I can't even remember what the brand was. So they're going hard, but I guess it just depends.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing too about this Instagram and Facebook advertising is it's how many people really care? Or actually, is it more of a subliminal thing? Is it oh, I see it over and over again, so then later you think about it? Because I see ads all the time. I've never bought something. Yeah. So I really, I think it's very important to do for brand awareness, but I always do wonder how much is it really effective. Gary Vee seems to think that it's very effective.
Well, and I guess the other thing of it is that it's cheaper than the alternatives.
It is.
What's your alternative? What are you gonna do? I mean, and no offense to you guys and your company, but
a big thing is too is it's you can target it.
Right.
It can be very targeted, because mass marketing is as important as it is. You can't do a ton of mass marketing until you have tons of ACV, because if your product isn't in every store, what's the mass marketing going to do? Nothing. They don't know where to buy it. So being able to do the targeting marketing is very important for a company that's smaller, because people need to know where to go.
Well, not only that, but it's not like for small companies, you can't afford to run an ad on the radio.
Yeah,
I mean,
it wouldn't even be worth your money either.
No, it's not. And you're not going to run an ad on TV. You know what I mean?
One thing we do that I think is very helpful is people Instagramming our product.
Mm-hmm.
That is very helpful, because these Gary V's I'm wearing, actually, the only reason I bought these is I saw Mikey Taylor skateboarding in them.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's pretty sweet. I can skate in these.
Yeah.
So that's why I got them. And because I listen to Gary V but things like that, seeing people that you look up to or that you like or whatever, using your product or drinking your product, I think they go a lot further.
Yeah. Now, what about, you're getting into some of these huge stores. You got Giant, you got Walmart. The hope is for Wegmans, somewhere along the lines. What about your all your small mom and pop shops that were here in Westchester that, they've been carrying the cold brew, and now they're carrying, the Cascara tea. You guys are still sticking with them, and
yeah, we're still sticking with them. We're still servicing them with a local distributor out of Lansdale. So they're still getting product. It's a shame they're not going to be able to carry the cold brew anymore. But like I said, there's plenty of cold brews to go around, and hopefully they'll stick with us and want to continue carrying the Cascara tea.
And you don't think that the cold brew will make a return?
No, I do think the cold brew will make a return one day. I do. But it'll return in a much different way.
Interesting. I guess that'll be a follow-up for another time. I won't press that anymore.
It will make a return one day, but we need to focus on the tea right now.
Well, and I was going to say, I think the other thing of it is, I think the cold brew scene needs to die down too.
It does. It needs to mellow out a little bit. I think, everybody's trying to come up with like the newest, craziest, innovative cold brew type thing.
Yeah.
You got all these different
nitros
coming out. Now they have, I'm not sure if you've seen flash brewed.
No.
Which is a new way to brew it. So it's very trendy, and people are coming out with all different types. And, I think eventually the cold brew industry will be a little more defined on what cold brew actually is.
Right.
Because Dave and I, we were doing a 24-hour cold brewing process. We'd brew it at 34 degrees in the refrigerator.
Yep.
It would be brewed cold, bottled cold. Everything was cold. Some people were doing hot brew that they're cooling down rapidly, or they're doing cold brew that they're heating up rapidly afterwards. Like, there's all different types of things. So I think eventually it'll come out that cold brew is defined as a certain brewing process.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I won't push that anymore, but I would love to see, the cold brew coffee make a comeback as well, because
I would too. I mean, the cold brew is what started it all. I mean, it's a craft, and I mean, I'll share. We want to eventually come back out with the cold brew in a can. A shelf-stable product.
Now, so when you had the cold brew in the bottle, and the reasoning behind the shelf life being so short was because you didn't want to put it through the process of basically making it shelf stable.
Exactly.
Because you felt like it lost some flavor, and it lost, It
got a little bit more of a burnt taste to it.
Right.
But, now the industry, that's what cold brew is becoming. Everybody is pasteurized now. And, the smaller ones that are local aren't. But anything that's big retail has been pasteurized. Yeah.
And so when you go into a can, you would have to do the same process.
Yeah, you could do a retort process, which would, keep it shelf stable.
And have you done it? Have you tasted it?
We've tasted other people's. It definitely changes the flavor a little bit, but you can work with it and still make it taste great.
Yeah, you could probably have some. Well, plus you have you do other flavors as well. You have,
we did
the
a
maple
mocha and a maple.
Yeah, so that would probably kind of help.
We're even though we're super super focused on this tea. I mean, we're always tinkering and trying to come up with the next thing. Just to have it there, have it ready to go.
For sure. Well, you heard it here first. Peloton, yes, it's going away, but it's going to be
one day.
It might be making a comeback
one day,
someday. So, well, what's next? What do you have on the horizon? Like,
just gonna keep on grinding, man. Keep on working hard. We're gonna keep pushing the product in Giant. We got a distributor out in New York City that's got us all throughout New York and Brooklyn. We're hustling hard on that, keeping demos going, making sure that products selling off the shelves in New York and Brooklyn. But it's a constant grind. I mean, we're just going to keep on working, keep on pushing, keep on focusing on the doors that we are in. We're in about 600 stores now. So we need to really focus on them and make sure products turning and start selling, and we'll go from there.
Now, what about BevNet? Was there anything that kind of came of that? Did you meet anybody there
absolutely
supplier or like stores, buyers,
absolutely.
things like that?
We met some great people at BevNet. being in BevNet Live was awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of people know our brand now, which, for the exposure, it was well worth it.
And I'm sure that there's people that show up to that don't even have a product. They're going to see what's out, and
There's
what's
all
big
different
and
types
what are
of
people loving on right now.
There's investors that go to that. There's buyers that go to that. There's people that want to be in the beverage industry that go to that.
Yeah.
But for me, one of the best things that came out of BevNet was like, I've never public spoke before.
Okay.
So getting up on that stage and public speaking was awesome, because now I'm like, oh, all right, I'm not dead. I can actually do this. Which is surprising because I'm on Instagram all the time, so people probably think it's easy for me. But
it's
so
way
different than when you have like 100 people sitting
when
in front of you.
When you can see faces in front of you, like it is so much different.
One-on-one is like easy peasy. I can talk to anybody all day long. But for some weird reason, when I got on that stage, the anxiety hit. I'm like, oh my gosh. But now I want to do more of that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, you get to do it. You get to do it today.
I get to do it in an hour.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, I know we're crunched for time, so I don't want to push you on that. But again, just thanks so much for jumping on and doing this. And
absolutely. Thank you.
I can't wait to see. I know at least for me.
What's next for you, man? What's next for you?
So. I'm pushing the podcast. I'm really pushing it hard. I need to push it more for sure. But having people, like you who share when they're on the podcast for people, that are their followers that can come over. And, my hope is that a couple people from yours come over and they're like, oh, I missed this the last time that he was on, or whatever the case may be. And then, that grabs them and they come in and, they hang around and check out some of the other episodes that are on. So, I would really love to just grow this and just keep growing.
How many viewers do you have now?
So the last I checked, I was actually very close to hitting 10,000 downloads for the year.
All right, come on, Peloton people. Let's get him to 10,000 downloads.
That would be my goal was to do it, by the 1 year mark of the show get 10,000 downloads. So, I mean,
it's
not quite
make it happen.
Quite as competitive as the beverage industry, but I mean, there's so many podcasts out there right now. So having people share it, just like you, having people share the product, having people share my product to the podcast, that's it. But
that's life, man.
Yeah, no,
sharing is caring.
Yeah, I'm having fun doing this, and it's the off season for me right now. So
cool.
Just kind of chilling out and getting a chance to enjoy some,
awesome,
food
man.
that I don't typically
keep on grinding hard.
Yeah, man.
Keep on grinding hard. And
cool.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Anytime, man.
And everybody else, keep grinding.
Yeah. So that is it. That is my follow-up interview with Adam from Drink Peloton. So what did you think about that? What did you think about making this transition? And Adam said that he was not sad about getting rid of the cold brew coffee, and he said that they just did their last run of cold brew coffee. And I feel like I would be a little bit sad, getting rid of a product that is what we launched with and what we brought to the market. But Adam sees the bigger picture, and he's got massive goals, and I really have no doubt that he's going to be able to accomplish those goals because he puts in the work for sure. So it was great to catch up with him. It was great to kind of tie him down for like an hour or so, as difficult as that may be sometimes, because he is just a mover and a shaker. He's constantly going. So it was really awesome to sit down and get a chance to catch up with him about what's going on with Peloton. I want to thank you guys so much for your support and checking in with the show, stopping by and hearing what we're up to. So thank you for spending some time with us. If you could please do me a huge favor and leave a review on the Apple Podcast app, that would help me out tremendously, and I would really appreciate it. It is one of the, if not the best way for you to help this show continue to grow. And until next week, with the amazing interview that I have coming up, I hope that you all have an amazing week.